After you have two parents decline from dementia, you realize you're not guaranteed tomorrow. While you still have your physical and mental cognition and health, you better do these bucket list trips now while you still physically can do them. In the movie The Bucket List, one of the actors said, I want to witness before I pass away something truly majestic. And that's something that my father had
Mhm.
indicated that he saw in Antarctica was something truly majestic.
If you're new here, hi, I'm Vicki, and this is Aging on Your Terms. This real talk conversation is rooted in something very real for us, and that's why my husband Michael is joining me today. There's been a growing trend lately where people are pushing back on the idea of bucket lists, saying they create pressure, turn life into a checklist, or that we should just focus on being present instead of chasing big experiences or keeping up with the Joneses. And while I get that perspective, what I've noticed is that a lot of it comes from people who have already had the chance to check off many of the things they once dreamed about doing. And the other thing is, not all bucket lists are about status or social media. Sometimes they're about something personal, something meaningful that stays with you over time. For my husband, that dream was Antarctica. For him, it wasn't a trend, keeping up with the Joneses, or a checklist. It was a decades long desire that we finally got to make a reality for him. And today, I want to talk about that experience and what it can teach us about dreams, timing, and meaning. So, Michael, thank you so much for joining me today. I love how you always let me use you as a guinea pig for these things.
And thank you so much, Vicki, for inviting me back to your channel.
Getting to Antarctica has always been one of your dreams for a long time. So, let's just start there. When did Antarctica first become something you wanted to experience?
Number one was when I asked my father his bucket list destinations. I said, I'm going to be traveling more. What would you recommend as a bucket list destination that you would highly recommend? And he said, number one, Antarctica. Number two, Alaska. And I asked him why, and he said, probably because of the beauty and grandeur of the nature there. For him, it was life changing. Number two was the movie, The Bucket List. So I rewatched that movie Thanksgiving break of last year, and it just hit differently. After you have two parents decline from dementia, and you see how they also physically decline, you realize you're not guaranteed tomorrow. And while you still have your physical and mental cognition and health, you better do these bucket list trips now while you still physically can do them. And I remember in the movie The Bucket List, one of the actors said, I want to witness before I pass away something truly majestic. And that's something that my father had indicated that he saw in Antarctica was something truly majestic. And the third reason was a book by the hospice nurse Bronnie Ware, uh, the top 5 regrets of the dying. So when she was a hospice nurse, she had to listen to a number of patients who were in their final years of life talk about all the regrets that they had during life. And one of the major regrets of the top 5 was, I wish I would have been happier in life. And I thought, why wait to be happy when you can go ahead and do that now and physically be able to do that now?
Um, so now that we know how it came to being, why was it so important for you to go?
I think it was so important because it's such a rare location for any tourist to go to. We obviously know, say for example, with Europe, it's incredibly crowded during the summer months, right? Everybody goes to Europe, to France and Italy and whatnot. With Antarctica, when I did a Google search on it, I asked Google what percentage of the world's population will ever set foot on Antarctica, and the answer was anywhere from 2/100ths of 1% to 2/1000ths of 1%. So that's 0.002 of the world's population will ever set foot on Antarctica. So it's a location that's rare for any individual other than a scientist to touch foot on, and it's really hard to get to. You have to really put in the effort. It's a number of, it's planes, trains, and automobiles. It takes a long time. It takes, as we experience, upwards of 4 days just to set foot in Antarctica.
Yep. And 2 days just to get to the boat.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Uh, and so once we finally got there after those 4 days, what were some of your favorite moments of the trip?
Well, there were so many favorite moments, but I think with the cruise line that we took, we had so many different vehicles that we could access large parts of Antarctica with. We had submarines, we had special operations boats that traveled 35 miles an hour across the water. We had Zodiacs. It was, but I'd say probably the excursion where I felt I was most outside my comfort zone was the submarine. To go underwater, in water that is either at freezing or slightly below freezing, um, and experience what's on the ocean floor. And I've never seen, obviously, I would say probably 0.002% would ever see what's on the ocean floor in Antarctica. So I felt outside my comfort zone, but I felt like a kid at the same time because there was so much wonder and so much fun, and it was so awe-inspiring.
Yeah. And for those of you that don't know, we actually chose to go with Viking and their expedition cruises, and we were on their ship Octantis. They have a sister ship. It's called the Polaris. They're exactly the same thing, and they both have two yellow submarines named after the Beatles. So on ours, we had John and Paul, and on the other Polaris, there is George and Ringo. So we rode on Paul. um, so, how did the overall experience of Antarctica compare to what you imagined it would be?
It was far better. I'd say it was worth every penny that we spent, mainly because, like my father had indicated, the nature, the scenery is so large, it's so grand that you do feel very small in comparison to it. And you're seeing wildlife that you will not see anywhere else in the world. I mean, where else are you gonna go to see penguins? It's a pretty rare instance to see these penguins. I experienced, I think, nature and scenery that was on such a grand scale, even more so than Alaska was. Alaska was absolutely beautiful. It was gorgeous, but I truly did witness something majestic on Antarctica. Several things that were very majestic.
Um, I know this we're talking about this, so this is your bucket list, and you kind of dragged me along because you know my fear of the water. I think for me, because I'm going to throw in there because you know something's always got to be about the wife, right? For me, it was so quiet that we could hear things that we couldn't see. And so there are some times when we're kayaking where we hear all these whales breathing around us, but we can't see them.
So folks, just listen up. We're going to wrap up pretty shortly. Um,
Wow.
They're all around us.
Yeah.
But and so that was just like, I've never been in a place that was so quiet and serene like that.
I completely agree, and I think my father had mentioned that before he passed, that when you go there, you don't hear any city sounds, no cars, trucks, buses, planes, none of that. All you hear, like you indicated when we went kayaking, was we heard nothing but whales breathing, nothing but that out there, and
Mhm,
that's such an unusual experience for most people to be in. You're so used to the sounds of the city
mhm.
you don't know what it's gonna be like, and it's awe-inspiring when you get there and you hear nothing but that, the whales breathing.
And I wanna pause here for a second because this is that whole thing around bucket lists and based on today's social media backlash against them. You know, when we talk about bucket lists, depending on where you sit on the side of the fence, it can be a bit off of you. But there's a big difference between chasing things because you feel like you should and holding on to something that genuinely matters to you. And right now, a lot of that messaging on platforms that celebrate travel and experiences is starting to reframe bucket lists as pressure and performative to gain social media following. But what's hard to ignore is that Much of that perspective comes after people have already completed many of the things. They've already flown, in first class on Dubai Airlines, or they've already gone to the Maldives, or they've scaled, Kilimanjaro. And now they're coming back and they're telling us, hey, you know what? Bucket lists aren't worth it. So don't waste your time. For us, our list has never been about content creation because, we started checking things off long before I even got on social media. And Michael's not on any social media platform besides YouTube, where he is a watcher, not a content creator. And the running joke in our circle of friends and family is that Michael is Mr. Social Media by proxy, meaning that our friends will send me things to show him because I'm on social media. Like, they can't send it directly to him. So it's never been about keeping up with anyone for us, because we don't share everything that we do. Um, when I started to share things here on the channel, um, I don't record content when I'm on vacation. I record our family members like memories like we've always done in the past. And then I pick and choose what I want to share, because some things are just really, really personal for us. Um, when you see our videos and you see me joking with Michael, that is us in real life. That is how we do it when I tell him his penguins stink. And we talk about that. But this is not about likes and clicks. This really is about our life and us just sharing a little piece of it with you. Um, and our bucket list has never been about checking off boxes either, because this list has also been decades in the making for us. And we're just starting to scratch the surface. Some of the things are big, like, going to Antarctica. And some of the things are, small, like we want to learn a language. I want to learn the piano. Michael wants to get back to playing the piano. It's things like that. It's not all about money and notoriety and celebrity and clicks. It's very, very personal for us. Um, and hearing you talk about Antarctica, you feel the same way as me. I didn't put those words into your mouths. This isn't a checklist, and it sounds like something that you were always meant to experience.
Exactly. Exactly. It's not that we're doing this to show off to other people, oh, look what we're doing and you're not doing, which we see a lot on social media. What we're trying to do is experience life to the fullest and come away with a much broader understanding of our world, and maybe learn a little bit in the process, maybe learn something new. And boy, we learned a lot of things about Antarctica and nature. So if we could come away breaking down barriers, it's all that more rewarding for us.
So now that you've experienced something that you've carried with you for so long, how do you react when you hear people say that bucket lists don't really matter, or that they create pressure on people?
I can understand from their perspective how that would create a bit of pressure. But I think for us, we're enriching our lives, being more open to things that we're maybe a little bit more uncomfortable with. And I think coming away, like I said, with a broader perspective can be so enriching in a person's life. Instead of, like many people do on social media, putting up walls, we're building bridges to understanding our world around us. And I think we're that more enriched in life, and we're thriving. That's another piece. As we head towards retirement, we want to thrive. We just don't want to
Yeah.
exist.
And so now that you've done your number one bucket list destination, did this trip make you rethink the plans you've already made for your next chapter?
It reinforced that I should get outside my comfort zone. And we're not talking about something like try bungee jumping or jumping out of an airplane with a
I ain't
parachute
doing that one.
like they did on the bucket list. Not going that far, but trying something that is a little different. I think it just reinforced live life to the fullest to what you're comfortable with, but definitely get outside your comfort zone, because you will definitely be enriched by it, and you'll probably be a better person for it.
What advice would you give to someone about chasing a bucket list dream, especially one that feels big or really far away?
My reaction would be go for it. Absolutely go for it, because we are not guaranteed tomorrow. We often think that our destiny and our future is in our own hands and that we have control of our destiny and what happens to us. Sometimes you don't. You may walk outside and get run over by a bus, or you could get into a terrible automobile accident that you never saw coming, right? So I
Hmm.
would say if it's within your comfort level to do it and you can financially do it now because you are not guaranteed tomorrow. And like I said, you will be enriched for having gotten outside your comfort zone and learned something new.
Yeah. And I'll add to that too is keeping in mind everybody's bucket list is going to be different. You could have big, expensive, grand things on there, or you could have small things like I want to learn how to sew, or I want another learn another language, or I want to be able to walk more than a mile. All of those are valid and all of those are things to chase. And I hope that this social media trend doesn't keep you from wanting to create your own bucket list. I know there's this new thing out there. It's the anti bucket list, the reverse bucket list, whatever it's called. Um, do what you feel is right for you. And if someone in your circle or social media doesn't understand what you want to do what I always do. Tell them to go kick rocks. So as you can see, Antarctica was more than a destination for Michael. And being there for him wasn't checking a box or keeping up with anyone else. It was about experiencing something that truly mattered to him. The landscapes, the wildlife, the stillness of the place. I am really glad that we went, and I'm glad that we went at a time where we could both actually enjoy it, not too late to enjoy it at all. And I think the bigger lesson here about bucket lists, as we said, is having a dream. It isn't about social media validation. It isn't about keeping up with the Joneses. It isn't about likes or clicks. This recent trend of telling people they don't need a bucket list often comes from those who have already completed theirs. And that perspective may work for them, but it doesn't apply to everyone. It doesn't apply to people who've never had a chance to even start checking off their bucket list. It is one of those, let them eat cake. I've had mine. Now, you guys, you don't need to have yours. Don't let that stop you from pursuing your dreams.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree.
So, whether it's a faraway trip, a personal goal, or a dream you've quietly carried for years, honor it. Pursue it at your own pace, on your own terms, for your own reasons. I hope you got the main takeaways for this is your dreams are yours. And finally giving yourself the chance to experience them is worth every step of the journey. And that's the real meaning of a bucket list. Michael, you have anything else that you want to add to this?
I think one of the understandings that I came away with from Antarctica is human beings have such a strong influence on climate change. And we heard from numerous scientists on the ship as we went to different destinations how Antarctica is the world's thermometer. What happens in Antarctica is twice as severe as what happens around the world. And we learned what one of the fun facts I learned is the overall temperature on Antarctica has gone up 5 degrees in the past 30 years, and that may not seem like a lot, but across the world, it's only gone up 2 degrees in the past 30 years, and it's had dramatic effects on, for example, the krill population in the ocean, which the whales feed on, that's dropped about 30%. And so there's a great deal of concern. Is there enough food even for the whales in Antarctica, right? And they're all part of this big food chain, right? From the krill
Hmm.
to the fish to the penguins to the seals to the whales. And we find, I think the biggest understanding is the destiny of the world is in our hands, and if you go there, you have a much clearer understanding of how much everything you do affects temperature and climate around the world.
Yes. Yeah. This was a very educational trip as well. It wasn't just about, sitting around and drinking. Like most people think of a cruise. There was a lot of lectures, a lot of learning, and I didn't retain all of it in the moment because there was just so much to retain. But um, I think being there helped foster my sense of my stewardship towards the world needs to get amped up a little bit. So if this video has been helpful to you, share it with a friend. And even if you didn't find it helpful, share it with a friend because they may have a difference of opinion or you don't like them enough that you want to send them something that you think might annoy them. Uh, and if you're interested in seeing more of our time in Antarctica and a lesson it taught me about fear, I'll link that video at the end. We'll also be answering questions because a lot of you asked us more practical, tactical questions like, cost, how long did it take there to get there? What was the ship like? We're going to go ahead and answer all that in a follow-up video. And if you have any other questions, you can leave them here. We'll go ahead and add that to the list of questions. The list is like about that long now. I was really surprised by how many we got. So if you aren't subscribed, you can do so now so that you don't miss that or any future videos that we create to inspire you to unapologetically age on your terms. And so thank you so much for being here with me today, Michael. And thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.